Friedrich Nietzsche, his history, personality, and famous ideas. Good morning/afternoon/evening, everyone. Today, we delve into the life and ideas of one of philosophy's most revolutionary figures, Friedrich Nietzsche. His work and thought challenged the conventional boundaries of philosophy, religion, and morality. Nietzsche's ideas, while deeply controversial at times, have shaped much of the intellectual and cultural landscape of the modern world. From his radical critiques of religion to his theory of the Übermensch, Nietzsche's contributions remain as relevant and provocative today as they were in the 19th century. In this speech, we will explore Nietzsche's early life, his personality, and the key ideas that form the foundation of his enduring influence. By understanding these aspects, we can appreciate how Nietzsche's work continues to challenge us, inspiring us to rethink our values, beliefs, and even the purpose of our lives. 1. Early life and background. Friedrich Wilhelm Nietzsche was born on October 15, 1844, in Rhätildepilkirchen, a small town in the Kingdom of Prussia, which is now part of Germany. Nietzsche was born into a devout Lutheran family, and his father, a pastor, died when he was only 5 years old. Nietzsche was left to grow up under the care of his mother, who raised him alongside his younger sister, Elizabeth. Academic excellence. Nietzsche was an exceptionally gifted student. He showed an early interest in philology, the study of language, and by the age of 24, he was appointed as a professor at the University of Basel in Switzerland. At this stage in his life, he was already deeply immersed in classical studies and the works of ancient Greek philosophers, particularly those of the pre-Socratic era. Health issues. From a young age, Nietzsche suffered from severe health problems, including migraines, poor vision, and other physical ailments. His health would continue to deteriorate throughout his life, and in his later years, he would face a complete mental collapse. This physical fragility contributed to his increasing isolation from the academic world and the public eye. 2. Nietzsche's personality. Nietzsche's personality was as complex and provocative as his ideas. He was known for his independent and solitary nature. Nietzsche was deeply critical of the conventional wisdom of his time, whether that was religious, cultural, or political. Intellectual independence. Nietzsche valued intellectual freedom above all else. He often rejected the established views of his peers, critiquing the prevailing philosophy and religious beliefs. His independence led him to critique not only philosophers like Immanuel Kant and Hegel but also the entire academic structure that he felt had become too entrenched in dogma. Rejection of religion. One of the most important aspects of Nietzsche's personality was his rejection of organized religion. He famously proclaimed, "God is dead," a statement that was not a theological claim but a declaration about the decline of religious belief in the modern world. Nietzsche believed that the death of God led to a crisis of values, leaving humanity to search for meaning in a godless world. Provocative and contrarian. Nietzsche's work is often characterized by its provocative and contrarian nature. He loved to challenge established norms, and his writings are filled with sharp critiques of contemporary morality, culture, and politics. His writings were not just intellectual exercises but attempts to provoke readers to rethink their assumptions. Mental collapse. In 1889, at the age of 44, Nietzsche suffered a mental breakdown. It began with a dramatic incident in Turin, Italy, where he reportedly saw a horse being whipped and rushed to its side to protect it. This incident marked the beginning of his mental collapse, and for the remaining years of his life, Nietzsche was unable to write or engage in intellectual work, living under the care of his mother and sister until his death in 1900. 3. Nietzsche's major ideas. Nietzsche's ideas were revolutionary and often contradictory, but they had an enormous impact on philosophy, literature, and culture. Let's explore some of his most famous and influential concepts. The will to power. Nietzsche believed that the fundamental driving force in human beings was not survival or reproduction, as many philosophers had proposed, but the will to power. This concept refers to the inner drive to assert and enhance one's own power, creativity, and influence. It is not about domination over others, but the cultivation of personal strength, autonomy, and flourishing. Übermensch. The Superman. One of Nietzsche's most famous and provocative ideas is the concept of the Übermensch, or Superman. Nietzsche envisioned the Übermensch as an individual who has transcended conventional morality and embraces the freedom to create new values. The Übermensch is the opposite of the passive, obedient person who follows society's moral codes. Instead, the Übermensch actively shapes their own destiny and embraces life in its fullest form. This concept was a challenge to the idea of a perfect human being, urging individuals to create their own meaning and purpose. Eternal recurrence. Another challenging and complex idea from Nietzsche is the concept of eternal recurrence. This is the idea that the universe and all of life will repeat themselves infinitely. Nietzsche posed this concept as test of one's ability to affirm life. If you could live your life over and over again, would you live it the same way? Would you embrace your existence with full passion and purpose? Nietzsche used this idea to provoke readers into considering whether they truly lived authentically. The death of God. Nietzsche's famous declaration that God is dead encapsulates his critique of religion in the modern world. By this, he meant that traditional religious beliefs were no longer credible in an age dominated by science and rationalism. The death of God, for Nietzsche, created a moral vacuum, forcing individuals to confront the challenge of creating their own values in the absence of divine authority. Master-slave morality. Nietzsche made a distinction between what he called master morality and slave morality. Master morality is the morality of the strong, the powerful, and the nobly, those who create their own values and live by their own standards. In contrast, slave morality is the morality of the weak, the oppressed, and the resentful, and those who adopt values like humility, meekness, and submissiveness. Nietzsche believed that modern society had largely adopted slave morality, which he saw as stifling human creativity and strength. Critique of modernity. Nietzsche was deeply critical of modern culture, particularly its emphasis on reason, science, and progress. He believed that modernity had led to the decline of individuality and creativity, the rise of mass society, bureaucratic institutions, and the triumph of scientific rationalism, he argued, had resulted in the erosion of human vitality and the imposition of rigid norms. 4. Nietzsche's influence and legacy. Nietzsche's ideas did not go unnoticed. His influence can be seen in a wide range of fields, from philosophy to psychology, literature to politics. Philosophical influence. Nietzsche's work laid the groundwork for existentialism, particularly influencing philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus, who built on Nietzsche's ideas about freedom, the absurd, and the quest for meaning in a meaningless world. His concept of the Übermensch also inspired later thinkers like Martin Heidegger and Michel Foucault. Psychology. Nietzsche's ideas on the will to power and the unconscious were precursors to many of the concepts later developed in psychology by figures like Sigmund Freud. Nietzsche's exploration of human drives, desires, and repression contributed significantly to the development of psychoanalysis, literature and art. Nietzsche's ideas have had a profound impact on literature and the arts. Writers like Thomas Mann, Franz Kafka, and Hermann Hesse were all influenced by Nietzsche's critique of society and his focus on individualism. Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch also resonated with the existentialist themes in modern literature and drama. Cultural and political influence. Nietzsche's works have had a lasting impact on political theory and culture. His criticism of mass culture and his emphasis on the individual continue to inspire debates about the role of the individual in society. Conclusion. In conclusion, Friedrich Nietzsche was not just a philosopher, he was a visionary who challenged us to reconsider the very foundations of our beliefs, values, and understanding of the world. Through his radical ideas about the will to power, the Übermensch, and the death of God, Nietzsche pushed us to think more critically about the role of religion, morality, and culture in shaping our lives. His legacy lives on today, as his ideas continue to provoke, inspire, and challenge thinkers across the globe. Nietzsche's life and work remind us that the path to wisdom is not always a comfortable one, but it is a path that leads to greater freedom and self-creation. Here are 50 quotes by Friedrich Nietzsche. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. Without music, life would be a mistake. That which does not kill us makes us stronger. There are no facts, only interpretations. Become who you are. The higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly. What does not kill me makes me stronger. In every real man, A child is hidden that wants to play. The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. We love life, not because we are used to living, but because we are used to loving. The greatest events of they are not our loudest but our stillest towers. Man is something that shall be overcome. One must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star. There is always some madness in love, but there is also always some reason in madness. You must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star. The more you suffer, the more it shows you really care. It is not a lack of love, but a lack of friendship that makes unhappy marriages. The demand to be loved is the greatest of all arrogance. Whoever fights monster should see to it that in the process he does not become a monster. I am not a man, I am dynamite. To live is to suffer, to survive is to find some meaning in the suffering. A person who has nothing for which he is willing to fight, nothing which is more important than his own personal safety, is a miserable creature and has no chance of being free. The will to power is not a means, it is an end. What is done out of love always takes place beyond good and evil. There is no such thing as moral phenomena, but only a moral interpretation of phenomena. The best friend is likely to acquire the best wife, because a good wife is a friend to her husband. You have your way, I have my way. As for the right way, the correct way, and the only way, it does not exist. The man of knowledge must be able not only to love his enemies but also to hate his friends. He who fights with monsters should be careful lest he thereby become a monster. All truly great thoughts are conceived while walking. I cannot believe in a God who wants to be praised all the time. It is not the strength, but the duration, of great sentiments that makes great men. Sometimes people don't want to hear the truth because they don't want their illusions destroyed. It is not the lack of love, but the lack of friendship that makes unhappy marriages. The greatest events of they are not our loudest but our stillest towers. We are always the same age inside. What is important is to be able at any moment to sacrifice what we are for what we could become. Hope in reality is the worst of all evils because it prolongs the torments of man. The most common form of human stupidity is forgetting what we are trying to accomplish. Every man is an impossible contradiction to himself. The snake which cannot cast its skin has to die. What is the meaning of life? That the purpose of life is to find the purpose of life. The lie is a condition of life.